Mason is your quintessential 10-year-old boy, full of energy, full of excitement, wants to run, wants to get involved, wants to touch things, but very active, high energy, just typical boy.
We found out when we were about 20 weeks pregnant that Mason would be born with bilateral club feet. And what it basically means is that his feet would turn in and sometimes up and almost wrap around the ankle to some extent, and bend in ways that our foot wouldn't bend, which would require a lot of treatment to be able to actually walk normally.
Honestly, first was a lot of questions. I didn't know a lot about it. And then I think, like naturally, like most parents, is a great deal of concern, great deal of just wondering, okay, what does that actually mean? What does that mean for my son? Will he be able to run? Will he be able to play sports? Will he be able to do all the things that I did as a kid? Everything you can imagine, I think, runs through your head.
Within moments of Mason's birth, both legs were put in full-length casts that would attempt to keep his feet in a straight position. When he was out of the cast, he was in a brace that would keep his feet held apart in a firm position, hoping to train the muscles and the tendons to go in the right way. He was almost 3 years old before he was able to go a day without either having his feet in casts or in some type of braces. But it never seemed to stop him. I remember him climbing up the stairs in our house, like pulling his braces, like just one knee at a time, shimmying up, and trying to climb out of his crib, but having to throw both legs over at the same time in order to climb out of his crib because they were connected by a brace. I guess in a way it made him stronger. When Mason's big sister was 5, we enrolled her in a soccer league. We hadn't really thought about Mason playing soccer at that point, but the moment we hit the soccer field, he wouldn't be kept from it. Luckily, we had a pretty flexible coach, and he didn't mind that Mason threw on an extra uniform and would run up and down the field with the 5-year-olds. And I guess Mason just didn't want his sister doing anything that he couldn't do better. The year after that, when he was 5, he insisted on playing the season with full-legged walking casts. We tried to keep him limited to the goalie position, but he wouldn't stay. He'd be running all over the field in his walking casts, and to be honest, I think he had probably a real advantage over a lot of the other players because they didn't need to wear shin guards and he didn't need to wear cleats. He just went. He wasn't going to let us say you have to sit on the sidelines and you can't play soccer because you have casts on your feet. He made it a point to say, I can, and I will. And really, you can't stop me. So when it rained, we'd put plastic bags over his feet and hold them up so the cast wouldn't get soaking wet. And he didn't even get tired. He just kept going.
I'm Mason and I'm 9. I like soccer because it lets you get outside and have fun. And I really like to move around and just enjoy myself.
We've realized that all the casting and all the braces hadn't had the desired effect. So our surgeon said it was time to actually do major tendon surgery. So it was the summer before his first grade year that he had the surgery. It took 6 weeks before he was even able to put his feet back on the ground. A lot of pain the first couple weeks. After about 8 weeks, they finally took his cast off from the surgery and said he could start trying to walk, but what we hadn't anticipated, and should have, was that after 8 weeks of not being able to walk and sitting there, his muscles would atrophy. And that, combined with the fact that his feet were in the tendons in his feet were in completely different positions, meant that he couldn't even walk at all. He couldn't stand. It took probably another 3 to 4 weeks of intense physical therapy before he could put any weight on his feet. And it wasn't until November when he could actually take his first step. And believe me, that first step he took was absolutely amazing after so many months of not even being able to stand.
From the very first time I met Mason in physical therapy, he stated, I want to play soccer again. I want to be the fastest guy on the field again. And so I was able to use that in rehabilitation to get him to do the things that he needed and wanted to do, but in such a way that the goal and the carrot was always getting back to soccer.
What I think is amazing really is more of his dedication. I don't know how many kids would be as dedicated as as he's been to playing soccer and to really giving, to being able to do this. I'm still amazed when I think about what he's gone through and over the last few years, and to where he is now. To me, when I think back, could I have done it? I don't know. It's amazing to me to see what he's gone through and where he is now. It's just phenomenal to me.
The next soccer season, Mason said, "I'm ready to play soccer," and we said, "But you can't. You just recently came out of your wheelchair. You can't even really walk and run the way you did before the surgery." And he said, "I don't care. I want to play on the field." And we looked at each other and said, "Well, I mean, what's it hurt, right?" So he was back on the field that spring, the spring after his surgery. And he hasn't stopped playing soccer since.
I can tell you I'm incredibly proud to see Mason overcome these odds. What he's gone through, where he is now, and really where I think he can still go. His story is still continuing, and that to me is what's exciting. Every day he continues to amaze me with his willingness to participate, to drive. He loves to practice. That amazes me. I know a lot of people love to be in the game. He shares that same passion and energy just to come to practice. It's amazing where he is today.